Welcome to Deep Thought. Problems with black culture? Which one? You know what? I was thinking about that the other day because, you got either some, I'll say racist non-blacks or even some blacks who might identify as conservative. They'll complain about black culture and they'll say, oh, this is bad and this and that. You got a lot of people who do that. And I would challenge every single one of them. Which one? Which one? Because even as some black conservatives would say, we're not a monolith. There are several cultures within the black community. In fact, but see, that's not something really talked about a lot because I've even tried to look up some stuff and it's not a lot of acknowledgement. Like if I do some Google searches or something, there's not a lot of acknowledgement about that. It's a tendency by the overall culture and even people within the culture to lump everybody into one group. But it's something that within the group, even though we don't talk about it, many people know there's just different cultures. There's just different groups. Only thing we have in common is a racial background. And even then, there's so many factors that come into it that really differentiate people on a major scale. In fact, I would even say I can even look at some people and tell they're from different backgrounds. I remember when I was working at this retail store, local retail store, and we had several black women, young black women, younger and older black women. And I looked at them and I said, you know what, every single one represents a culture. Now, we had the hood girl, tons of tattoos, how she talked, how she carried herself. But then we also had the church girl, We had the professional girl who, she was just there just temporarily, of course, but she actually has a business, a government job, a business, and had a house built from scratch. But she was more professional class. She was a member of a sorority and everything. Had somebody who was more mainstream church, working class type of background. Because, and this is in all communities. Like I find it interesting where, when they talk about the black community, a lot of people want to put the hood up or they'll talk about the rappers and all of that shit, right? But you don't get the same thing in the white community. Nobody puts the trailer park, methane using, fentanyl using, opium using whites on the same level as those whites who are part of the 9.9%. Oh yeah, especially not even the 0.1%. There's not even a difference. In fact, even within the white community, it's different. I've seen the class differences. And you got the same thing in the black community. You got different cultures and everything. The one TV show that showed it, but it might have went over people's heads if they didn't know what they were looking like, was Insecure. Now, y'all remember I did a lot of stuff. I used to do reviews on Insecure because it was one of the few black shows that showed different class types. In fact, an older show, Different World, it actually showed, it showed them on a college campus, but if you really look at them, they were different social classes, different cultures. Like like in Insecure, there was, when Lawrence was dealing with Tasha, there was a scene where Lawrence came, Tasha brought Lawrence to a cookout, a black cookout, right? And he was not comfortable. He was just kind of just standing there. That wasn't his background because he was more from an upper middle class background. He was from a more upper middle class background, how he carried himself. Whereas Tasha, she was more, I would say, mainstream, that type, be at the cookouts, backyard cookouts, be playing the spades and everything, right? But it was two different ones. Because even now, because I know it's on, I was thinking about that, because on IG, I follow like different groups, different cultures. Because, with me, I'm really big on subculture and everything. Really big on subculture. Wait a minute. I'm really big on like the nuances. Like if you talk about like one, like several, and I'm just mentioning a few that I have personal familiarity with within the black community. It's like, okay, yeah, you got the hood culture, but they actually small, but it just is everybody wants to look at them. Oh, they got a problem. And you got like black and white want to look at them. One type of people want to put them down. You got some people want to put them down or help them out, and then you got put them down or also help them out. That's the best way to look at it, or something. But they looking at it like it's everybody. But then, what about the part where they're more black elite? In fact, check out a book. It's called Our Kind of People by Lawrence Otis Graham. May he rest in peace. But he talked about that. I'll put a link for it in the description box. And he talked about old money. Now, growing up in the D.C. area, I was around a lot of. In fact, a group I used to deal with when I was younger, Jack and Jill, I used to go to their parties and stuff. I followed them on IG. They totally different. This is old money. This ain't like first generation college or, a bunch of baby mamas and, a bunch of street dudes. They would be called bougie. Some people would call them boule, even though that's not quite accurate to say that. But old money. And they've been around a while. Like I said, check out that book. But then that's just one part of the elite. You got a whole lot of black professionals who are getting together doing stuff. I follow a whole lot of them on like events and stuff like that on IG. A whole lot of tech ones. Professionals getting together, networking and all of that. That's a culture within itself. In fact, if you're in the Washington, D.C. area, you go in PG County or Charles County. You got some hoods, but you also got some areas where, they got 4 bedrooms, 2-car garages, half-acre land and everything. Just living totally different. But then you also got what I call overall the holistic culture. And nobody's really talking about that, but they are there. And it's like, when I say holistic, and that's a big ass tent, because you got vegans, which even mainstream publications acknowledge that the vegan movement in the United States is pushed mostly by the African Americans. They say 6% of Americans are vegan, but 8% of African Americans are vegan. And there's a whole lot of vegan restaurants, black vegan restaurants popping up, whole lot. But then you got people, they might get into astrology, yoga, stuff like that, holistic living, wearing their hair natural and stuff like that. And if you look at it, that's kind of different from the black professional crowd, the black professional culture, And then even if you throw in religion, now, if you look at the black church, that's a powerful institution. Now, it's funny, people always talking about how, you got some people trying to put blacks down, say, oh, they behave this way, there's something wrong with the culture. Well, if you want to be real, the most dominant culture really is the black church. And the culture around that. That's the most dominant. Nobody wants to talk about that, but that's the most dominant. I mean, official research shows that the black community is the most churched. Even with the holistic, even losing some numbers, it's still the most dominant. And you still have a lot of people around that, And then, you start going into the religion part, like getting into the holistic culture. Like I said, that's more a big tent. But then you got a lot of people practicing like something spiritual, with the tarot cards and, or different versions of African traditional religion. And it's a different culture. It's like it's several. And those are just the ones I have some familiarity with. I got a lot of familiarity with people in the holistic culture. They behave totally different from the hood. I know plenty of people in the professional cultures, they behave totally different. Like, there's always some talk about education and stuff, but the professionals, they're all about achievement and education. Shoot, all about it. In fact, there's a game within the black professional circles and black elite circles called Negro Geography. You basically got to tell them where you went to school and who you know, what frat you pledged, and all of that. But that's part of the culture. That's as legit as, you know, going into maybe a more working class culture and then going to a cookout where, you know, got somebody cooking in the background, in the back, you know, jamming to some music while you got a group playing dominoes or spades. All of it's legitimate, but it depends on which one that you're in. And I want y'all to think about that. Think about that, because the black community is not a monolith. It depends on which culture are you talking about. Like I said, the saddest thing is you get a culture that's really not that large. It's not really not that large. I would say when you look at the mainstream black community is mainly working class, church going, working class people who are just, you know, they just living every day. They actually have better relationships. They actually have better relationships too. You know, more likely to stick together. So you got different groups. So it's like if you got to say something about black culture, be very specific. You say, okay, that part. Now the only issue I would say is the other parts aren't shown as much. The holistic culture, I mean, how much is that shown on TV or people talking about it? How often people talking about? When they having events and stuff, they'll have like a lot of people at the events. And you got some of them, they making 6 figures, 6 and 7 figures, just spending, just dealing with the holistic crew, you know. But it's some serious stuff. And if you know how to look, you can tell. You can tell. It's just different groups, you know. Shout out Master Teacher BGS. He talked about the class angle with it, with the octanes, you know. Yeah, you got the ratchets, but then you got the professional class, you know. You got some people kind of in the middle. You got some people strongly working class. And I'm just tell you, when you deal with different groups, always got a code switch. Always. I can't, you know. There's some people. Hey, I've known some professional women. You around them, you trying to act like you too hood or something. Boom. And of course, you get some people say, well, yeah, nah, they want Pookie and Ray. They ain't been around professional groups. Probably ain't been in holistic crowds, you know. They haven't been around the different groups. They ain't one group and think that's it, or don't know how to recognize it. But I want y'all to think about it. It's very important. Man, if you ever come across somebody and they say something like, well, the black community is this or that, it's like, okay, which culture, which community exactly? And have them get specific, challenge them. Because that's something I do. Challenge them. Because it's different groups. It's obvious. It's different groups. You know, that's why I do have criticism. Somebody saying they speaking for everybody. No, they're not. They speaking for their particular community, their particular group. Because even what I mentioned, I could go through and start breaking them down even further. So, want y'all to think about that, all right? So anyway, that's all I have for today. Really think about it. Check out that book I linked, Our Kind of People. That's a real, because I've seen that particular group since the 70s. You know, I would say I was on the outskirts of that group, but it's very different. Hell, even when I was in high school, you could see the difference between somebody I'm in Washington, D.C. I could see a difference between the young men from upper northwest D.C. and those from southeast, even though they were in the same school. So you gotta look at all of those things. How many groups there are, it's hard to say. I just gave you the ones, like I said, the ones I'm familiar with. So, anyway, that's all I have. Something for you to think about. All right? Get back with y'all. Peace and blessings.